Appamada's programs and facilities are supported through your generosity. Your support really does make a huge difference. You'll find a link for contributions on the website at appamada.org/contribute. Thank you so much.
Relax is the road of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the road of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the road of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Okay, well, do you guys mind catching me up and so I can see where everyone is?
Well, I'm up to the where you do the frame.
Oh, great! So you've got it pinned. You have it basted on the corners.
Well, I did baste it, and I thought I was being really clever because I thought that I was basting on the actual lines, and then I watched back the video where John was doing the corners, and I realised that it's quite important that it's not on the line. So I've got to unpick them all and do it just outside the line rather than on it. I thought I was being really like precise,
Right. Let's do this the right way.
So that's where I'm up to. I have to undo.
Okay, great. How about you, Marla?
I am pinning my face, and I'm getting a little bit carried away with the pins. But it's coming along.
Good. Okay.
Thank you.
So what pieces are you joining now?
Right now, I've already got 1 and 2, 1A and 2A together, and I'm trying to join them to 3 with 3 on top.
Okay, so you've joined all the A's and B's.
Yes, I haven't sewn them. I've just pinned them.
Okay, well, I would recommend going ahead and sewing the 1A to the 1B before you try to move on. I wouldn't try to sew it when it's all pinned, because it'll make a difference, kind of the little adjustments you have to make after it's sewn.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah. So Lynn, well, you're done, huh?
I'm just sewing the back part of the frame.
Okay.
To the silk.
The silk, right. So that inner line.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay, great. Right. Let me see the front just to look at it. Just to see. The other side.
See if I've got it the right way up. Just a minute. Is that the right way up?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's very nice.
Oh, wow.
Great, great. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, can we see the other side again, Lynn, please? Just,
So what we're
Thank
doing is I'm now sewing the edge here to the silk,
I see.
and then I have to draw a line between the edge that I've sewn on this side and the this edge, and then you have to draw you have to stitch a line that's in between the two edges. So there's a lot of sewing on this bit, isn't there? There's a lot of taking your time to sew it, and I've been checking to see if it's a rectangle as much as I can. But just to say also that, just to let you know, Anne, that Claire and Trudy both sent their apologies today. They're sorry they can't be here.
Thanks, Lynn.
So Lynn, you sewed the face to the frame first, correct?
Yeah, you sew that side first.
And then you
Along
sewed.
that inner line, so the line that's just the closest, the line on the frame that's closest to the face.
Here.
But you can't go through. When you sew that, you can only go through the frame fabric, the blue fabric, which is folded over. So you've got 2 layers of frame fabric.
Yeah.
And then the face fabric and the interfacing. But you can't sew through the silk.
So that then you can fold this part and you can stitch through that. And again, you don't want that to be showing on the other side.
Right.
And then the next lot you start to sew, if I understand that correctly, you sew right the way through.
Right. You gather all the layers.
Yeah.
And you sew through the entire bunch of layers.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I am on my last line of sewing on, let me get this out of the way. Last line of sewing on the everything to 3.
on the face, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. So I guess I'll be doing, I think during the session, I'd like to start with the frame because that's so difficult. You know,
Okay.
just figuring out that measuring, and then that way if I have any questions, you'll be there.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's a good idea.
So last
Yeah.
week I did this line and then I turned it over and realized that I had sewn together like another part of the and I
Oh my
couldn't,
gosh.
yeah, I couldn't undo the knot.
Didn't
So
work.
I had to, yeah, complete. So getting a lot
Oh
of
man.
practice with the stitches. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So it sounds like Maria, you're basting again the corners.
Well, if you think about it, I've now got basted stitches rather than pins, so it's going to be a lot easier.
Oh yeah, to baste over your basting, beside your basting. Yeah, that'll be easier. Okay. And Marla, do you have questions about doing any of the stitching?
Not currently.
Great. Okay.
When I get to 3, when I get to 1 and 2 to 3, I may,
Right.
but I'm just watching the videos and going very slowly.
Okay.
And changing
Okay.
my mind about 3 times a day about how I'm doing it.
It'll be well considered. It'll
Yes.
be well considered. It is well considered. Okay. Okay, great. So, Lynn, any questions? It seems like you've got it down what you're doing. Like you said, just a lot of very careful stitching at this point.
I think I'm okay at the moment. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I think what I'll do, oh, go ahead, Maria.
I was just going to say, what happens if you do your akasu and it's like pretty imperfect? Does it get rejected from the field of practice and zazen? Or I'm just wondering.
Bye. The field of benefaction.
Yeah.
No, I guess you send it off to your teacher and they say, I mean, I guess you could show it to me and ostensibly your sewing teacher is kind of checking all along the way and saying, oh, no, do that over, or this isn't. And we're doing that. I mean, you're showing stuff and but I don't think I can't imagine getting to the end and having somebody say that would be the teacher's fault, in my opinion.
Ah, well, that's all right then.
Right. And so it'll be the teacher's fault and you'll just have a lopsided rakusu. Well, you can always make another one. It's not as if has to be the last rakusu you ever sew. Though I know that sounds like a really nice thing right now.
Get through this one first, see how we do.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
What I'm going to do is set up the fabric and the pencil and the measuring devices so I can we can go over again the measuring and the marking and the cutting for the frame. So when Rosemary gets her stitching done, and I'll just set stuff up while she's doing that.
Sounds good. I was just going to say to you, Rosemary, that on the photographs on the link tree, I've added a photograph of mine where you can see the long, I don't know if you've seen it, where you see the long table view of the whole frame and it has the crosses, just so you can get an overview of what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously Anne's taking you through it is going to be more helpful, but it'll just give you an overview of what it looks like when it's all marked out.
Yeah, in between the sessions. Exactly. Yes, thank you very much. That I know that will be helpful.
I'm just checking my corners, Anne, and I've when you turn them inside out so they're like that, I can actually see the lines.
Right, and you can see the chalk lines?
Yeah, so does that mean they're okay?
Yeah, what you're going to do when you actually sew it, so you're going to turn it so the seam is not like that, but the seam is in the middle of the triangle, so it's flat. And when you sew, you're going to try to get the chalk line to the chalk line. So you're going to kind of ease that a little bit when you actually sew.
Yeah.
So instead, when you get to that point, like lay your frame out flat and you'll see that the corner seams are actually showing. They're not on the edges. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and you can kind of move the upper piece of fabric over the bottom piece of fabric when you're looking at that one little seam, that one corner seam. So you're lining up the lines and the lines. So you are going to see the lines with your basting because you're 2 millimeters off of the lines. Yeah. So when you get to the actual sewing, you're going to line up the lines and the lines.
Right. So does it mean I've done the basting in the right place then, if I can actually see the chalk lines?
Yes.
So I don't have to unpick them then? Oh, which is a bit more worrying because that means I'm onto a different stage.
So you would be on the sewing. Give me a really close up of one of your corners.
Let's have a look. I think what I might have to do though is rebaste because I think I've not basted small enough. So I don't know if you can't really see on there, can you?
So turn it so it's flat. Turn
Right.
it, yeah.
I think I've done the basting too big, if you know what I mean. I've not done it neat enough and I've not done it small enough, I don't think. I don't know.
Well, I mean, basically it's just pinning.
Right.
So I don't think the bigness, I don't think the size is going to be a problem, but it may be a problem when you are trying to line up the lines and the lines when you're trying, if you don't, so turn it inside out again or right side out.
Yeah. So you can see the chalk lines there, look, just
And now if you if you squish it so the chalk line and the chalk line, so you're gonna like open it out. So the seam is actually, no. Oh gosh, I
you're
wish
gonna open it out.
yes, like that.
Yeah.
So can you see the chalk lines then?
Yeah.
How much of the chalk lines can you see? That's the thing. Is it
All
like
of
a
it.
millimeter? Well, how far is the chalk line from the fold or from the seam?
Yeah, about 2 millimeters, 2 millimeters.
So it sounds like you actually have basted off of the chalk line. Because if you'd basted right on the chalk line,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to see it.
Right. Gosh.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad I checked now with you.
Yeah. So basically, you want to just turn it so it's flat like that. So the seams are in the middle of that corner, not on the edge of that corner. And you want to line up the chalk lines and the chalk lines.
Right.
And you're going to sew right on the edge of the top piece of fabric.
Oh.
Let's see.
Because isn't there another phase that I do? Is there not something like you fold one ear back one way and one ear somewhat back the other way?
Yes. There's that part. Yeah.
Am I jumping
Yeah,
ahead?
you've got to do this step. No, you're not jumping ahead. You're right. I was jumping ahead.
I think this is where I'm going to have trouble.
Well, I don't know. I'm wondering about taking out the basting you have. If you feel like you did the basting on the line,
Yeah.
then I would take it out.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Have a better chance at the next stage.
right. Yeah, I'm afraid that when you get to everything, having thicker material under there because you folded down the ears,
Yeah.
that it may be problematic.
Right. Yeah. I think it's probably better to do that. Because that's me impulse, I think, to redo it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
It does look kind of on it, but when you turn it inside out, you can see
You can still see, yeah, you'll be able to see.
but it might just mean the measurement's not quite accurate. It's not quite right. Yeah.
I would try to do it over. Oh.
Well, I'll do it neater this time because I don't think I was very neat.
Well, and it may be you can see the lines because the basting is kind of loose and you're able to pull it kind of apart. I mean, the stitches are wide and they're big stitches, and you can pull it a little. It's
Yeah.
got more give.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're right. Yep, I'll do that then. And that delays me next stage as well.
Darn it.
But I can see what place I was in when I was doing this basting. I don't think I was very centered looking at
Mm.
because it's a bit messy. So
So, yeah, if you pin it and then baste it
yeah,
and then do the,
great.
let's
Thank
see,
you.
the turning in and out. Can everybody hear me again? I was just getting up walking around. I'm going to go ahead and read while you sew, and then Rosemary, you can let me know when you get to a point where you're ready to look at the frame. Genjo Koan, actualizing the fundamental point. Eihei Dogen. As all things are Buddha Dharma, there is delusion and realization, practice and birth and death, and there are Buddhas and sentient beings. As the myriad things are without an abiding self, there is no delusion, no realization, no Buddha, no sentient being, no birth and death. The Buddha way is basically leaping clear of the many and the one. Thus, there are birth and death, delusion and realization, sentient beings, and Buddhas. Yet in attachment, blossoms fall, and in aversion, weeds spread. To carry yourself forward and experience myriad things is delusion. That myriad things come forth and experience themselves is awakening. Those who have great realization of delusion are Buddhas. Those who are greatly deluded about realization are sentient beings. Further, there are those who continue realizing beyond realization, who are in delusion throughout delusion. When Buddhas are truly Buddhas, they do not necessarily notice that they are Buddhas. However, they are actualized Buddhas who go on actualizing Buddhas. When you see forms or hear sounds, fully engaging body and mind, you grasp things directly. Unlike things and their reflections in the mirror, and unlike the moon and its reflection in the water, when one side is illumined, the other side is dark. To study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by myriad things. When actualized by myriad things, your body and mind, as well as the bodies and minds of others, drop away. No trace of realization remains, and this no trace continues endlessly. When you first seek Dharma, you imagine you are far away from its environs, but Dharma is already correctly transmitted. You are immediately your original self. When you ride in a boat and watch the shore, you might assume that the shore is moving. But when you keep your eyes closely on the boat, you can see that the boat moves. Similarly, if you examine myriad things with a confused body and mind, you might suppose that your mind and nature are permanent. When you practice intimately and return to where you are, it will be clear that nothing at all has unchanging self. firewood becomes ash, and it does not become firewood again. Yet do not suppose that the ash is future and the firewood past. You should understand that firewood abides in the phenomenal expression of firewood, which fully includes past and future, and is independent of past and future. Ash abides in the phenomenal expression of ash, which fully includes future and past. Just as firewood does not become firewood again after it is ash, you do not return to birth after death. This being so, it is an essential established way in Buddha Dharma to deny that birth turns into death. Accordingly, birth is understood as no birth. It is an unshakable teaching in Buddha's discourse that death does not turn into birth. Accordingly, death is understood as no death. Birth is an expression complete this moment. Death is an expression complete this moment. They are like winter and spring. You do not call winter the beginning of spring, nor summer the end of spring. Enlightenment is like the moon reflected on the water. The moon does not get wet, nor is the water broken. Although its light is wide and great, the moon is reflected even in a puddle an inch wide. The whole moon and the entire sky are reflected in dewdrops on the grass, or even in one drop of water. Enlightenment does not divide you, just as the moon does not break the water. You cannot hinder enlightenment, just as a drop of water does not hinder the moon in the sky. The depth of the drop is the height of the moon. Each reflection, however long or short its duration, manifests the vastness of the dewdrop and realizes the limitlessness of the moonlight in the sky. When Dharma does not fill your whole body and mind, you think it is already sufficient. When Dharma fills your body and mind, you understand that something is missing. For example, when you sail out in a boat to the middle of an ocean where no land is in sight and view the four directions, the ocean looks circular and does not look any other way. But the ocean is neither round nor square. Its features are infinite in variety. It is like a palace. It is like a jewel. It only looks circular as far as you can see at that time. All things are like this. Though there are many features in the dusty world and the world beyond conditions, you see and understand only what your eye of practice can reach. In order to learn the nature of myriad things, you must know that although they may look round or square, the other features of oceans and mountains are infinite in variety. Whole worlds are there. It is so not only around you, but also directly beneath your feet or in a drop of water. A fish swims in the ocean, and no matter how far it swims, there is no end to the water. A bird flies in the sky, and no matter how far it flies, there is no end to the air. However, the fish and the bird have never left their elements. When their activity is large, their field is large. When their need is small, Their field is small. Thus, each of them totally covers its full range, and each of them totally experiences its realm. If the bird leaves the air, it will die at once. If the fish leaves the water, it will die at once. Know that the water is life, and the air is life. The bird is life, and the fish is life. Life must be the bird, and life must be the fish. It is possible to illustrate this with more analogies. Practice, enlightenment, and people are like this. Now, if a bird or a fish tries to reach the end of its element before moving in it, this bird or this fish will not find its way or its place. When you find your place where you are, practice occurs, actualizing the fundamental point. When you find your way at this moment, practice occurs, actualizing the fundamental point. For the place, the way, is neither large nor small, neither yours nor others. The place, the way, has not carried over from the past and is not merely arising now. Accordingly, in the practice enlightenment of the Buddha way, meeting one thing is mastering it. Doing one practice is practicing completely. Here is the place. Here the way unfolds. The boundary of realization is not distinct, for the realization comes forth simultaneously with the mastery of Buddha Dharma. Do not suppose that what you realize becomes your knowledge and is grasped by your consciousness. Although actualized immediately, the inconceivable may not be apparent. Its appearance is beyond your knowledge. Zen Master Baoshe of Mount Mayu was fanning himself. A monk approached and said, "Master, the nature of wind is permanent, and there is no place it does not reach. Why then do you fan yourself?" "Although you understand that the nature of wind is permanent," Baoshe replied, "you do not understand the meaning of its reaching everywhere." "What is the meaning of its reaching everywhere?" asked the monk again. The master just kept fanning himself. The monk bowed deeply. The actualization of the Buddha Dharma, the vital path of its correct transmission, is like this. If you say that you do not need to fan yourself because the nature of wind is permanent, and you can have wind without fanning, you will understand neither permanence nor the nature of wind. The nature of wind is permanent. Because of that, the wind of the Buddha's house brings forth the gold of the earth and makes fragrant the cream of the long river.
And
Uh-huh.
I had the most wonderful, not an aha, but fulfilling realization in hearing that sutra.
Mm-hmm.
When it talked about death and birth and about how one is not the beginning or the end of the other, and
Right.
the metaphor of the seasons.
Right.
Winter is not the beginning of spring, and spring is not the end of winter. They're separate.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that just helps so much to have that analogy or metaphor, or whatever you call it.
Yeah, that sutra is so rich. It's
Mhm.
got so many of those things that, and yeah, every time I come back to it, something else hits me. I like reading it out loud. I really enjoy, yeah.
I've had
Good.
conversations with people who insist that Buddhism is all about reincarnation. And I've said, no, the Buddha actively debunked that himself.
Yeah.
The religion that has
Well,
grown up over it has infused some of that in it.
right, right. Yeah, from what I understand, the actual, recordings, or not recordings, but recordings of the memories of his discourses, when people would ask him directly about, are you born again after you die? And he would say, it's irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, I'm not going to say yes and I'm not going to say no, but it doesn't really make a difference to what I'm teaching.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, which is interesting.
Thank
Well,
you
let
for
me,
that reading.
yeah, I'm glad you all like those. I'm going to read
Sorry to
this.
say I was able to print, so
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay, great. So you've got the framework sheet.
correct. Oh, you know what?
Okay.
I'm sorry. Let me get a pencil because I'm probably gonna,
Yeah. Okay, so first thing you're going to do, look at the framework sheet
Mm-hmm.
and the line across the top of the drawing of that rectangle
Mm-hmm.
has got a few measurements already written in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start at the far left-hand side, you see that first measurement between the first two diamonds is 1 centimeter.
Mm-hmm.
And then between those next two diamonds is 4.2 centimeters.
Mm-hmm.
And then the length of the top between those two diamonds is empty. That's going to be the length of the top of your face from chalk line to chalk line.
And by top, that means left to right.
Yes, that means left or right. If you put the face, or let's see, I'm going to change my,
The long side.
yes. So if you put your face down in this orientation, so 3A and B are in the middle, and then if you start at the far left upper corner
Mm-hmm.
of your face, can you still see the chalk lines you have?
You mean like the first line? Yeah, I can see all the chalk lines.
Across the top of the face?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what you want to do is you want to measure from the first corner, that left upper corner, where the vertical and the horizontal chalk lines intersect right there, right at that corner. And you want to measure across the face, going to your right to the upper right-hand corner.
And so I'm not including the seam allowance on either side. Is that correct?
That's right. You want to go from chalk line to chalk line, and the chalk line marks the border of your seam allowance. So you want to go on the inside.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Where the vertical and the horizontal meet, that cross.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so
So
I'm measuring now.
yeah, take that measurement and write that down and label it.
So this says millimeters. So on the ruler,
Well, it says,
it says oh,
pick up your ruler and show it to me. Yeah, that's a centimeter ruler. So the millimeters are each tiny little line.
okay. So this is good. All right.
Yeah, so each centimeter is going to be 10 millimeters.
Got it. Okay. So I'm just about to tell you what it is and then write it down. So it looks to me like 26.5. Do I write that down?
Yeah, write that down and say length of top.
Okay. Okay, got that.
And then I would measure the bottom, the length of the bottom.
Okay.
So you're going to go down and do the same thing along the bottom.
Okay.
So from the corner, left lower corner to the left or to the right lower corner.
Okay, well, this is interesting. Okay, let me smooth it out. Okay, it is. Oh, you know what? Gosh, I don't think I had the first part of the ruler in the right place on the left. I think I was like at the end of the ruler, not where the markings start. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's actually, let me redo that.
Yeah.
So it's actually, that's right. It's actually, it's like a hair under 27, not 27
So
and a half. Not
so maybe 26.9 maybe?
Hold on a second. Yeah, I would say that that makes sense. Yes, I would say 26.9.
Okay. So I'd write that down as the length of the top.
Yes, okay. So now let's do the bottom. Wow, they really look different. The bottom. Looks like almost 27 and a half.
Okay, so go ahead and write that down for the length of the bottom. And then do the sides.
I'm just going to do the top again, just to.
Okay, yeah, I would recommend doing that, to go ahead and measure at least twice. So you've measured twice now, but I would.
Yeah. Okay, so that works out. So now the other two.
Right. The two vertical lines.
Does it matter which one I do first and which one I put, which measurement I put in which, little slot here?
Well, you want to put the measurement from the top. I wouldn't put them in the frame worksheet yet. I would put them either just on a piece of paper or at the top of the worksheet or So these are going to be your initial measurements.
Okay, so I'm just distinguishing between the one that I'm starting like from the left side of the face and the one that I'm,
Exactly.
yeah, because they could be different. So,
Yeah, I would go
I have-
ahead and say the
yeah.
left side. Yeah.
And I'll put that on a piece of paper. Okay.
So eventually you're going to make the two horizontal measurements equal and the two vertical measurements equal. But realize that we've kind of skipped ahead. We still have to put the interfacing and the lining on the face before we actually make the frame. These measurements will be the correct measurements because you're going to be measuring on the face, not on the interfacing, not on the lining.
Got it. Okay. So let's make these two. Okay, I got 16.5 on the one that started on the left.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what this one is. This one is more like 16.23, 16.2. Let me do that one more time.
Okay.
16.5 and 16.2. So I have those.
Okay. So what we're doing now is we're actually looking at, from the instructions, we're looking at page number 6. And again, we've kind of skipped down. We've skipped joining face, interfacing, and lining, which I recommend we'll go back to that. But this is just how to measure the frame. So you see, starting in the middle of the document, the section number 6, or number 4, section 4.
Right.
I'm not so good with my Roman numerals. Section 4. It says the lines around the edge of the rakusu face should form a perfect rectangle, which means that the horizontal lines need to be equal and the vertical lines need to be of equal length. If necessary, redraw them. The top and the bottom should be exactly the same length as should the two sides. The corners should be right angles. What I recommend you do is take the smallest of the horizontal measurements of the two that you've gotten, so whatever you've written down for the length of the top and the length of the bottom, whatever the smallest one of those numbers is, you're going to choose that number to redraw the top and the bottom line.
Got it.
And then the length of the sides, the left and the right, you're going to take the smaller number of those two numbers and that's going to be what you're going to use to fill in the frame worksheet
Okay.
for the length of the sides.
Mm-hmm. And so the smallest of the lengths is 26.9. That's the top one.
Okay.
Am I trying to make the bottom the 26.9, or am I fudging both sides to make it something different?
No, you're going to use the smallest one.
Okay. And
You're going to use,
make the bottom one fit that.
yeah, if it's 26.9 and that's the smallest of the two numbers, then you've got one side already, the 26.9, and then you need to make the other 26.9.
Got it.
Don't draw on it yet, because my recommendation for drawing on it is to put in the right angles first. So if you've got, let's see. So using something like your ruler,
Mm-hmm.
put some of this up. I would go up to where the top left upper corner is, and I would draw a right angle with my chalk pencil, using the edge of the ruler as a guide. So I know I've gotten exactly a right angle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would go across, I would take my longer ruler and actually you don't need to measure this, but I would go over to the right upper corner
Mm-hmm.
and make another right angle.
Okay.
You want them to be exactly horizontal. You know, you want the right angles to be on the same line.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got two right angles, and you can do a line from one to the other. At your 26.9.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can measure your 26.9 off of that if you need to, if that line is too long.
So remeasure. Okay.
And then I would, using that right angle, I would then measure down for the vertical line for whatever your, I don't remember what your length is, 16 point.
16.2.
So we're measuring from the left upper corner to the left lower corner. So you just basically want to get a straight line down from that left upper corner. So you can use a T-square.
Mm-hmm.
You can eyeball it, because basically they're going to be in relation to one another. You don't want it to be wildly off. Let's see. But you're going to draw another line. Oops. down to the 16.2. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about something, and I'm not sure this is valid or not, but here's the question. So
Mm-hmm.
there's, let's say, 0.4 that has to be divided kind of between the right and the left, you know?
Well, you know, you're not going to divide. You're not going to divide. You're going to take the measurement of the smallest length because you're not going to have much more length than the smallest length. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I'm thinking that so on the bottom, my
Mm-hmm.
bottom is the bigger one. So when at the bottom, the
You
all of the excess is going to be on the right side. Is that correct? You know what I mean?
yes, you can make it that.
And
Yeah,
that's okay. That's what I meant.
yeah.
It's not as much so much that it has to be split between the two sides.
No, I would go ahead and draw your vertical line. So you've drawn a horizontal line across your top at the proper measurement. And then I would go ahead and draw your vertical line. And then you're going to measure off of that.
Off of the left side.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. I think I know what to do. And
So
yeah.
yeah, so measuring it is measuring the frame piece is a big deal. So you've pretty much gotten that. And then measuring and redrawing the lines for on your face is also a vital part because those measurements are going to be the measurements you use on your frame worksheet.
Got it. Okay. And so redraw the frame lines.
And that's on page number 6. The instruction for that is on page number 6.
Right. So now the length, let's see, the top to bottom measurements were also different.
That's right.
I may have to measure this again, but I think that I recorded this correctly, that it was the left one that was shorter. So is that how far I'm going down also?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've only got a few more minutes, maybe 3.
Thank you
So
so
I'm going to
much, Anne.
start
This is
cleaning up.
fantastic. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, this is a little confusing and I know we skipped a step, so we'll get back to that.
Yeah, that's fine. I really appreciate the lesson.
Okay. All right.
Thank you all. See you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Cassie. Hi, John.
Hi, Cassie.
Hi.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, I won't be here next Sunday. I just thought I'd let you know. I'm going to be on the road.
Okay, great. Well, safe travels.
Thank you.
Have a lovely time. Not sure I'll be here either, so.
Okay. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you when we see
Bye.
you.
See
Bye-bye.
you soon.
See you soon.